everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of FranCoach's Franchising 101 podcast. I am Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO and part-time Santa Claus here at FranCoach and your podcast host. So Merry Christmas for everybody yesterday. Happy Hanukkah as well going on. Hope everybody had a fantastic Christmas. First one in my house where we don't believe in Santa anymore. So and if your kids are around listening to this, of course, there's still a Santa, little ones, just not in. Yeah. Okay. Well, I should have tuned you out, given you a heads up on that one. Very different vibe around here. So, but the biggest thing is what I found is when we believed in Santa Claus, I had to buy myself crap, wrap it up from Santa. Now I just could buy myself crap and skip the wrapping part. So actually not all that bad. So anyway, I hope everyone's having a great holiday. This is our last episode of the year, and I want to talk about something that comes up frequently with our clients in the process. Is it fair to worry about this? Is it fear causing us to worry about that? And it is the dreaded C word. Stop it. It's the dreaded C word, competition. Okay. So competition. Let me just help you. If you are going to own a business, franchise or otherwise, guess what you will always have? Anyone? Competition. So is this fear that can really creep up for people, worrying about the competition, fearing the competition? Is that a real thing? Is that something we should worry about? Is that something that should stop us? And how do we figure out this? And so, as always, a lot of this is what our team is going to help with. Should you be paying attention to the competition as a business owner? Yes, absolutely. Of course you should. Should it be debilitating and stop you? No, absolutely not. Now, we literally had somebody last week say to me, like, I really am kind of looking for a business where there isn't any competition. Fortunately, I do phone calls with clients and not video because I don't know that I could have kept a straight face, because what I really wanted was the hand to the forehead face plant. There's always going to be competition. So, but how do we need to attack this and approach this? Okay. So again, if you're looking for a reason to not do something, there's a whole bunch of them, and competition is a great one. But one of the things that I always want people to focus on is not the competition, because it's always going to be there. Do we want to understand it to a point? Yes, but really just to a point. What we want to focus on is what percentage of the pie do we need? Okay. So what do I mean by that? So with a franchise, you're going to have a defined territory for your business. If it's a non-retail brick and mortar type of thing, it's a literal territory. There's usually not a completely round circle, but you're going to have X number of zip codes that are yours with this. If it's a retail location, you usually have kind of a 3-mile bubble, 2-mile. It depends a little bit, but for just argument's sake today, we're gonna say it's 3. Okay, so here's your location. Draw a circle. That's where you're basically, people aren't driving farther than that for most businesses. Okay, so how do we figure this out? So one of the things I always tell people is, first and foremost, the mapping software franchises have, it is borderline creepy how much information that they have. Okay, it is their job to know this information. So it is not their job, nor do they frankly care, the name of all the other businesses that are going to kind of do the same thing as you. And I'm going to explain why, because it will throw people off. Sometimes franchisors are borderline dismissive. Well, I need to do the market research on the competition. Why? What does that matter? You're looking at the wrong things. You're looking at, we got to look at the piece of the pie. Okay. But the mapping software, we can have a pet franchise that can tell you how many dogs are in a zip code. A senior care franchise is going to tell you not only how many seniors, but they literally can kind of oftentimes map out where they are within a zip code. Okay. So we're going to rely on this at the beginning. But what we also want to see is what's that franchise looking for in a territory? Okay. I mentioned senior. I'll use that as an example. A senior care franchise, usually we'll hear this, and every brand's a little bit different, but just as a generalization, in a territory, they're going to have 20,000 seniors as at a kind of a minimum with this. So, okay. So, but geez, there's a lot of senior care franchises. Oh my gosh, how are we going to fight for all of the business with all the competition? Well, then you dive a little deeper into this particular industry and you're like, you can get away with 40, 50 clients out of that 20,000 plus that can get you to $1 million or more revenue business. Okay. So we don't need 20% of the pie. We don't need 30% of the pie. We need like 0.2. Okay. So, do we really care how many other businesses are out there doing this? I mean, again, when you look at this, probably not. One that comes up a lot, landscaping. Because like anytime we talk about a landscape franchise, the first thing out of everybody's mouth, and you might be thinking the same thing, oh my gosh, do you know how many landscape companies I see? Okay. Yeah. Do you know why? Everybody has an outside. Every home, every business, everywhere, it's outside. That outside, it's everywhere. So there's going to seem like there's a lot. But is there really a lot? Is Billy Bob and his beat up pickup truck really dominating the market? No, he's not. He's got, 15 homes that he's doing work for because he's the one out there doing it with a couple of helpers, whoever the helper of the week is, basically, right? So you get a lot of that. And you're going to have X number of, population, households, things like this, even within the households, the demographics of those single family homes from that perspective. And what you find a lot of times is 1%, 2% of the total business that's out there is what you need to be able to tap into. Okay. So we had, I give an example of this, where my wife's house, where we live in Florida, there's a landscape franchise. In fact, we're a customer of, former client of mine. So if he's actually listening, he's probably not gonna like this the next part. But he's kind of complaining one time about at the beginning of like, oh man, it's so hard to get some customers, da 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 da. And I'm literally, I didn't. Well, I don't want to embarrass the business, but there was behind a truck, there was a landscape truck. Okay, and so the name of the business was Fresh Cuts with a Z. Okay. That looked like it had been spray painted. I'm going to say 15 years ago. There was a phone number that literally didn't even have an area code. If that tells you how long it's been since Fresh Cuts with a Z dude had updated his truck. And I'm like, is this the competition that you're worried about? We're worried about Fresh Cuts with the Z, with a phone number, and we're not sure is it 813, is it 727? We don't really know what that is. That's what a lot of times the quote competition. And when you talk to franchises, why they're essentially kind of unfazed. We're not going to do market research on, is it Fresh Cuts with a Z or Fresh Cuts with an S, Fresh Cuts with two S's? Is it Billy Bob? Is it Jimmy? Is it Sally? Whatever. We don't care. We got to focus on how we're going to get that 2% of the pie. Fitness is another one that comes up a lot. Right. Oh my gosh, there's so many gyms. There are so many fitness things. But in your 3 mile bubble, I don't know, maybe there's 10,000 qualified households in there. And you need 300 members, probably 250 just to get to break even, sometimes even a little bit less. So let's just say we need 300 members in this fitness studio. But remember, there's so much competition with 10,000 households. You can't find 300 where there's at least one person that wants to be a member, right? So again, usually it's okay, and we tell people to kind of lean into it. Yes, you should be worried about it at the beginning, but as you move through and you start getting overwhelmed with the data and you realize how these things are carved up, again, it's kind of the franchisor's job to know how to craft a territory to help you be successful. How does the franchisor make money, folks? Like, it's not the franchise fee. Like that's gone the second that you turn that in, because it's paying for everything that they spent, all the money they spent to find you, all the people that worked with you to get you on board as a franchise owner, and then all of the training and support and all of the people to get you open, right? So you're getting that franchise fee to them, but it's already basically gone. They make money off the royalties. So if they're carving up bad territories and not paying attention to what the demographics are and what's needed for that particular business, then everybody's screwed. You're not making any money. They're not making any money. You're mad. They're mad, right? but that's not what happens in franchising. Hey everyone, I wanted to take a quick break from our podcast to tell you about our amazing friends at Entrepreneur. If you're looking to become a franchisee or simply learn more about business ownership, and guys, let's be honest, you're listening to the Franchising 101 podcast, so we know you have some interest in this. And I really encourage you to go to entrepreneur.com to check out all of their great content and resources. Seriously, Entrepreneur has everything, all the way from a bookstore to the best podcasts, webinars, and videos, plus information on upcoming events and the latest articles that seriously, they cover all aspects of franchising and business ownership. If you're having trouble deciding which franchise is right for you, start with Entrepreneur's renowned Franchise 500 ranking, which highlights the best franchises of 2022. For 45 years and counting now, Entrepreneur has been and continues to be the most widely recognized and respected authority in the franchise market. Digital and print subscriptions are available, so you never miss out on anything. So seriously, what are you waiting for? Go to entrepreneur.com right now and learn more. Is it okay to do your own market research? Yes. Yes, and I don't know what you're really necessarily going to get out of it. Are you trying to identify who's out there? Maybe somebody's doing a good job, and maybe we can kind of see what they have done. Maybe, right? But even then, why the heck are we looking at the franchise? They've kind of got this stuff down. Or are you trying to do the market research to see, find a reason to not do it? There are all kinds of reasons to not do this, folks. So don't feel like you got to have something like this. Just don't do it. Okay. And then we talk a lot about the examples of competition in the world that we ignore as consumers. But once we get as business owners, well, frankly, we probably still ignore it, but we need to pay attention to it. Right. So we talk a lot about McDonald's and Wendy's. There was a time where McDonald's is a real estate franchise, right? They buy the dirt, they build the thing. Oh, by the way, they've got hamburgers and French fries, right? So all the market research for that. There was a time where Wendy's used to just follow McDonald's. Well, why? Because McDonald's they don't fail, right? Or hardly ever, because of all the stuff that they're doing, and not just market research, growth, and all the things around it. So Wendy's just follows them. How do you find a Walgreens? Well, Walgreens are at the corner of Happy and Healthy, of course. Well, what's also at the corner of Happy and Healthy across the street? It's a CVS, right? How many times are you going to see those things together? Or the one we all know, car dealerships, right? They are all together. Is the Ford dealership worried about the Chevy dealership? Are they worried about the Dodge or the Toyota, right? There's Kia, there's Hyundai. They're owned by the same place. Right? No, they're not worried about the competition because they know there's enough people that are going to be in that area. They're going to get their piece of the pie. Okay. So part of the other thing I want always people to think about is, how do we get our piece of the pie? Well, there are some times you just need to physically be present, right? Not that everybody's going to be listening is going to open up a McDonald's or a Taco Bell or a Wendy's, but sometimes you just open the doors and they will come. But part of that is also the marketing plan generated by the franchisor, right? What a franchisor has and then passed down to a franchise owner is just going to be so much stronger and more efficient than, again, all of the especially the non-franchise businesses in your area. They're not going to be able to get at the top of Google when you type in, landscaper near me, plumber near me. They're not going to get at the top, right? But the franchise is anything that's digital, all the social media stuff, any sort of ads that we're placing online, direct mail, whatever it might be that we're doing to make that phone ring or get customers to come to us. But the X factor in every franchise, folks, it's you as the franchise owner. Are you going to get out and spread the word and connect in the community, create some additional awareness for this? And if you're not, then it's time and money on marketing. So are you going to spend the time? Or are you going to spend more money on the digital stuff, the paid stuff? Maybe you're hiring a manager that's really good at getting out to do that. So number one, it's that. Number two is once you are open, um, that market share and the competition, one of the biggest things is how are you going to treat your staff? Okay. And then how are you going to treat your customers? So why did I say staff before customers? Okay. If you are treating your staff like crap, guess how they are in turn going to treat your customers. Okay. So again, if you are that leader that can really build a team and a great culture, better your staff is, the better they are doing. So if you're spending all this time and money to get somebody to come in the door or to get you invited into their house, and then your people that you are treating like crap treat your customers that way, man, these folks, they ain't coming back, and they're not going to have anything good to say about this. So the competition, I don't care what business it is. Yes, there's going to be competition. If you feel the urge to Google or do any sort of market research around you, have at it. And I'll go back to the landscaping thing because this is, well, I'm going to kind of stick with my examples for today instead of getting all over the board like I can do. But because we had this happen a while back with, was landscaping in particular. Geez, there's so much competition, right? So the franchisor, it was funny. I said this to the client, and the franchisor said them to at different times. Google landscaper near me. Okay. Now take the top 10 things that pull up and call them and see what happens, right? Does anybody answer? Pretty good chance they don't. If they do, are you even able to leave a voicemail? Does anybody call you back? How long does it take them to call back? Okay. Now that franchise, and again, maybe it's something like literally there's a call center that's answering a lot of times for like in home service space, right? So it's answering on one ring. Hey, thanks for calling, blah, 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 right? Oh, okay. How far down the list as a consumer are you going to go once somebody answers? When are you gonna be out here tomorrow at 2:00 to, give me a consultation or to do the work? Yes. Like I'm done, right? I've got it. I checked it off my to-do list. I needed to find the landscaper. I needed to find junk removal. I need to find, like, hey, I want to take a Pilates class. Pilates near me. Okay. Hey, when are your classes? Right. Or I go on the website, boom, done. Right. So sometimes you can just kind of Google that to realize, okay, that's quote competition. And in home service, especially, not only are those things not necessarily competition, but as you grow and now you need to expand your team, don't be surprised if you can't gobble up Billy Bob over here and his couple helpers and his 12 clients, because Billy Bob likes to do the work. He doesn't know how to find it. Okay. So yes, think about the competition. Google your little hearts out. If I could turn everybody's Google off during this, I would definitely do so, because it can get you down some rabbit holes that aren't particularly helpful. But really embrace the mapping piece and the territory piece with the franchisors. Not only how they've carved that up, but why did they carve it up like that, right? What's the story of, hey, I know it needs to be 20,000 seniors minimum, or it needs to be 30,000 households with this, and this. They didn't just pull that out of their keister, folks. There's a process with that. Ask those questions. And again, you're going to hear those answers and go, that doesn't make, I don't feel good about that. Or you're going to go, oh, wow. Yeah. They're talking about stuff I didn't even know was stuff, to help understand how this is carved out. Okay. And then again, as always in franchising, as the owner, you're the X factor, folks. Again, if you're not going to follow the plan from all the digital marketing stuff or whatever the marketing is, if either you or somebody on your team is not going to get out there and connect in the community, then we're not going to get that market penetration that we want and we need. If you're going to treat your staff like crap, well, that's just a bad idea in general. And then from there, now take good care of your customers, right? So give them what they came to you for. Right. Seems pretty simple, but we can get those things lost in the weeds a little bit. So kind of went into the year with that. It's something that comes up with our team often. It's one of those moments that people can kind of freak out a little bit, even sometimes when we're introducing franchises, right? Hey, here's this franchise. Oh, I don't know. There's a lot of competition. Just please stop yourself and understand the steps we're going to take. What you feel is competition is, again, in almost every case, borderline laughable by that franchise. Okay. Even the biggest brands out there in an industry have, I heard this one not too long ago about Serve Pro, which is a franchise, one of the largest thing in kind of the water, smoke, fire remediation space. They've got about 2% of the market, and they are by far the biggest one out there. Like, so even if they're in your area, I don't know, man, Serve Pro, they're huge. They're everywhere. Everybody uses them, right? Automotive, we had this one not too long ago. A guy told me literally everybody drives an EV. Huh? Really? That's amazing. Because I sure see a lot of people at gas stations, right? So again, those are fear-producing things. And remember, for us, as we're taking you through this journey, this is an educational process. We're going to teach you things you don't know. We're probably going to like dispel some myths and misconceptions along the way, and help you determine if you should do this. You want to find reasons not to, they are everywhere. So that is a little bit about competition. I want to wrap with one last thing, which is kind of the wrap. There's no way I am the only person that when Spotify came out a couple weeks ago with the, hey, this is your Wrapped, right? In fact, my lovely wife and I were sitting there looking at ours, and she had over the year, I mean, it was like, I forget the number, but she had maybe 100 more minutes streamed on Spotify than me. And so like, because we tend to be a little competitive, she's like, haha, I stream more than you. I'm like, no, I was using yours some, so that doesn't count. So literally I make sure I never log into hers, just so in 25, I kick her ass with this. But we also had this with the Franchising 101 podcast. So I thought this was kind of interesting. And so as always, we want to thank our incredibly loyal and apparently growing listeners, as we had 199% more listeners in 24 than the previous year, 398% more followers. So if you're listening, thank you. If you haven't followed, what the heck? And streams were up 999%, which I'm like, do they not go to 1,000? Like, what was that number? But again, thank you for all of that. We had 52% more people actually paid attention to the video version of this versus just the audio version. Our video podcast for Franchising 101 was actually in the top 5 of all video podcasts on Spotify, which is pretty stinking cool. Listened in 58 different countries. And the number one kind of top streamed episode was episode 190, which is literally, why is franchising not for you? Want to worry about competition? Maybe that. There's some other good things in there. So, which is odd because all of the positive things we talk about, which one attracts the attention? Why is franchising not for you? We had one a couple years back. Like, why would you fail? Again, it's one of the 220 some episodes of this we have done. 2 with the negative titles are at the top. Tell us about us as humans. So anyway, thank you for all of the time that you have spent listening to our little show here. If you are finally ready to reach out, please do so. FranCoach.net, franchising101podcast.net. Again, everything is always with Team FranCoach here for us. And then don't forget, on Fridays, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on Biz TV, you can find the Franchising 360 show with myself and Danielle Wright. Always fun stuff probably with that, but tune that in as well. Thank you so much for an amazing 2024. I've got this funny feeling franchising in general, and our team, everything's going to be even better in 25. Have a great rest of your holiday, a safe and happy new year, and we will talk with you next year. Thanks so much.